In this video, we're going to introduce the Django-unfold package, and this is an admin theme for Django applications that's based on TailwindCSS. And by adding Django-unfold to your project, it's going to give the Django admin a much more modern look and feel, and it's going to provide you with widgets that allow you to customize what's displayed on the admin. So we're going to dive into that in this video. Before we do, thanks again to everyone that contributed to this coffee goal. If you want to support the channel, we've got a link to this page in the description. So let's go back to the documentation for Django-unfold, and we're going to look at this now. So what this provides is an admin theme, and you can create beautiful Django admin interfaces using this application. Now what I'm going to do is scroll down here, and we're going to get a quick look at what this is going to look like when we actually add it to the application. So you can see it's got a very modern design with a sidebar that looks better than what comes out of the box with Django. And if we scroll down further, we can see that it's based off of key technologies that we've used on this channel, such as HTMX, Alpine.js, and also TailwindCSS for the styling. And if we go to the GitHub page for Django-unfold, you can see it's got 1,200 stars. So this is a very popular Django admin theme, and we're going to learn how to use it in this video. I'm going to open VS Code, and I have a very basic Django project open here. And this is based on the code from a previous video that we did on Django admin action functions. And if we go to admin.py, I'm going to scroll to the top here. We have this order model in our application, and we've created an order admin class. And we have a custom action called order delivered action that we have within this class. I've removed the one that was very similar to that from the previous video, so we can see that we only have one of these admin functions. But you don't need to watch the previous video in order to follow along with this one. So I'm going to start by looking at the built-in Django admin. And as you can see, we have the order model here in the admin UI, and you can see that we have 5 orders in the order table. Now, what we want to do is add Django-unfold to this project, and that's going to update the Django admin and make it look much more modern and give it a better look and feel, which can impress your clients if you're working with Django and developing applications using the admin. So let's go to the GitHub documentation, and I'm going to scroll down to the section here. We're going to go to the installation section that you can see in the table of contents, and that's going to show us how to install this package. Now you can see we have an unfold application, and then below that we have a variety of different contrib packages. These are all optional. The only one we require is the unfold package. So what we're going to do is go down, and I'm going to copy this pip install command, and let's go back to VS Code, and I'm going to paste that into the terminal, and we're going to install Django-unfold into the Python virtual environment. Once we've done that, we can go over to the Django settings module, and we're going to go down to installed apps, and at the bottom, or rather at the top, and this is an important point, we're going to add unfold at the top of installed apps. It has to be added before the Django built-in admin. So Django has its own admin application. We need to add unfold before that. Once we've done that, we can go back to GitHub, and we're going to see how to use Django-unfold. Now we don't need to change anything about the admin URLs, but what we do need to do is we need to import the model admin class, not from Django itself, but from the unfold.admin module. So I'm going to copy this import here, and we're going to go back to the admin.py file where we have this order admin class. At the top of that file, I'm going to import the model admin from django-unfold.admin, and then we're going to change the class that we're inheriting from here, and we're going to make that the model admin class. Once we've changed the class that we're inheriting from, what we can do is start up the Django development server, and if you need a user to access the admin, you can run the create superuser command. And we're going to go back to the admin UI, and I'm just going to refresh this page as it is, and we're going to see that that updates immediately. So just by changing the class that we're inheriting from, we instantly get this different looking UI that, in my opinion, looks much more modern and much better than the built-in admin. Now for the order model, we're on the list page at the moment. We can click through to the edit pages for each of these orders, and for example, we can update the user or the status of the order. And notice these very nice looking form widgets that are based on TailwindCSS classes. In my opinion, these look a lot better than what comes with Django out of the box. And once we've edited the given model, we can then click save, and you can see we get back some feedback at the top here, and we have the table below listing out all of the orders. We can also look at the actions, and this is the custom action that we wrote in the previous video. We can run these and look at the way that that is updating dynamically when we select an action. This is actually driven by Alpine.js and HTMX under the hood when we use these actions. So it's very interactive and much more modern than the built-in Django admin. Now, one of the cool things about this, at the top left here, we have a few options. If we click this icon here, we can actually change the theme of this admin. So for example, at the moment we're on the system theme, which is actually the light theme, but I can change that to a dark theme. And you can see that now the admin has that dark background. So we have the ability to go between the light and the dark themes. And that's all again being powered by TailwindCSS. That's very cool, and that's not available, I think, in the native Django admin. And we also have this user icon here, and that allows us to view the main Django site that's not part of the admin, as well as change the user password for the administrator that's logged in. And finally, a plus button, and that allows us to add a new order. So we can add an order. If we go back, we can also edit the order as we saw, and we can also delete an order, and that's done using the custom action here. So Django ships with this delete selected orders admin that you can use. And if I select another one of these, and let's go back here, when we run this, you get the confirmation screen for deleting these orders. I'm not going to run that. Let's just go back to the orders page, and we're just showing all of the options here. It's all of the same functionality that the native admin provides, but with a much more modern user interface. Now, all we needed to do in order to get this modern user interface was to subclass our admin with the model admin class from Django-unfold. Now, we're going to see it's not the same for the user model. So what I'm going to do is click through to this particular order, and we have a user attached to the order. And if we click this eye icon at the right hand side, you can see the tooltip says view selected user. When we click that, we're taken to the page for that user. Now, this doesn't look ideal. It doesn't have the expected classes from Tailwind CSS, and that's because the native Django user admin is not subclassing that model admin class that we have here from Django-unfold. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the documentation for Django-unfold. We're on the GitHub page here, and we're going to look at this user admin form section. Now, the user admin in Django is specific because it contains several forms which require custom styling. So what we need to do here is we need to define a user admin class, and that's going to inherit from base user admin, and that's Django's native user admin from the admin module. And we're also going to inherit from the model admin class from Django-unfold. And notice that for this admin class, we're setting the form, the add form, and the change password form. Now we can basically copy all of this. So I'm going to copy all of this here, and we're going to go back to the admin.py file. I'm just going to paste these in at the top, and note that this is an alternative way of registering an admin class. We have a register class decorator. To use that, we need to import register from django.contrib.admin. So let's go back to VS Code, and I'm going to paste that in here as well. And the final thing we need to import from admin is the user model in Django. So we've got a lot of imports here, but it's basically for this particular class called user admin. It inherits from two classes, the base user admin and model admin from Django-unfold. And we're updating the forms to use forms that are provided by Django-unfold. So Django-unfold has its own version of admin password change form, user change form, and user creation form from Django. And there's one other thing we need to do before we register this class. We need to unregister the user model from the Django admin before we register it again using this class. So admin.site.unregister is another function that the Django admin provides, and we can pass the user model to that. So we're unregistering the user from the admin, and then we re-register it using this decorator here and using the class provided. And by unregistering, that's going to fix this error that you might see at the bottom on the terminal, where we have the exception already registered. And this exception tells you that a particular model has already been registered with the Django admin. So what I'm going to do is restart the server, and hopefully that error is going to go away. Once we've done that, we can go back to the browser, and we're going to go back to the Django admin UI. So this was the page before for the user. And notice the fields here, such as the first name field, the last name field, email field, and notice these Boolean fields for the user being active and statuses for staff and super user. If we refresh this page, we're going to see that this now updates, and look at these widgets here for the Boolean fields. That looks a lot better than it did before. So by adding the model admin class and registering the user with that, we've been able to update these forms that are attached to the user model in the admin, and this now looks much better. For example, here in the email field, and these first name and last name fields. It's much more modern and much nicer, in my opinion, to have the fields looking like this. And that's so easy to do using Django-unfold if you want to modernize your admin interface. Now I'm going to go back to the user page here, and we have the 3 users in this application. And look at this as well. This looks quite nice as well for the staff status. When that's set to true, we have this nice green icon. Now there's a few other things to note here. We have a filters button, and that allows you to filter what's shown in the list page. So for example, we can filter by staff status. If we select yes to that, we get back the same records because they're all staff. If we select no though, then that's going to remove those users because none of the users that we have are not staff. So again, these filters and the dynamic behavior of these is driven by Alpine.js, with TailwindCSS used to style up the page. So let's move on and explore a couple of extra features before we finish the video. I'm going to go back to GitHub and I'm going to scroll down here to the configuration section, and we're going to take a quick look at the settings provided by Django-unfold. Now in your settings module, you have a setting called unfold that you can set to a dictionary, and it's here you can set things like the site title, the site header, and so on. There's a lot of different options here for things like icons and logos, and if we scroll down, lots of different options here to configure Django-unfold. I'm going to define one that's very simple now. Let's just set a site header here. So I'm going to copy this bit of configuration. Let's go back to VS Code and minimize the terminal. I'm going to go to settings.py, and right at the bottom, let's paste that in and we'll close off the dictionary. And I'm going to remove the site title, but let's set a site header here. Now by default, this is none. And I'm going to change that to Django-unfold demo. So what effect is this going to have on the Django admin? Let's go back to the page here. Notice at the top where it says Django administration at the top left. When we refresh the page, we now get our custom site header. And one other thing we can do here is we can minimize the sidebar and bring it back onto the page as we wish. And we have our custom header here, and that's derived from the settings. So you can change that to whatever you want to appear at the top left of the Django admin. Now I want to show a couple of cool things just to finish the video. The first one is going to be how to integrate Django-unfold with the Django-import-export package that allows you to import data from CSV and JSON files into your database, and also export data from the admin from the database to different file types. So I'm going to go back to the browser and let's go to the documentation for Django-import-export. This is a Django application for importing and exporting data with admin integration. So we're going to install that. So let's go down to the section here. I'm going to click installation and configuration, and we can copy the pip install command. Let's go back to VS Code, and on the terminal, we're going to paste that in. That's going to install the package into the environment. And then we're going to minimize this and go to the installed apps within this project. And if we go back to the documentation, we need to add import export to installed apps. So let's do that just now, and we can do that at the bottom, just below the core application. That's going to allow us to use Django import export in this project. To use it with Django-unfold, we need to go back to GitHub, and I'm going to go right back up to the section on installed apps. So we had these we had these optional installed apps. We have this one here. This is for using Django-unfold with Django import-export. So we're also going to copy that, and we're going to go back to VS Code, and we're going to paste that into installed apps just underneath unfold. Now once we've added these, I'm going to go back to the GitHub page, and let's go to the README, and there's a section on third-party packages. So you can integrate Django-unfold with packages like 𝗟𝗟, Guardian, Django import-export, and so on. We're going to click the import-export link, and we're going to be taken to this section. Now there's some instructions here for setting this up. What we need to do is we need to change the import form class and the export form class in the model admin that inherits from the import-export model admin. So if you want one of the models in your application to allow exports of data or imports of data, you need to follow these instructions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the top two lines, which are imports, and we're going to go back to admin.py, and right at the top here, I'm going to paste these in. So what we've imported from import-export.admin is the import-export model admin class. And for unfold, we have imported three forms: export form, import form, and also selectable fields export form. And that was a real mouthful, not the easiest thing to say, but we've imported all of this now, so we now need to use that. And we're going to do that in the order admin class. So let's go back to the documentation. What we need to do, as well as inheriting from model admin, we need to inherit from the import export model admin class as well. So let's add that as a second import here, or a second parent class, I should say. And then if we go back to the documentation again, we are going to define an import form class and an export form class. And we're going to set them equal to the two forms that we've imported from the unfold import export module. And this one's commented out, so we're not going to bother with that one, but I'm going to copy these two. Let's go back to the class, and underneath the actions attribute, we're going to paste these two in. So we have an import form class and an export form class. Let's now go back to the Django admin, and we're going to go back to this order page. When we refresh this page, you can see at the top right, 2 new buttons have appeared that are going to allow us to, for example, export data. Now, Django import-export is associated with resource classes, so it's going to use an order resource that it's created under the hood for the order model, and we can select a format here. So, for example, CSV, TSV, JSON and YAML formats are supported out of the box. I'm going to export to a CSV file, so when we submit that, you can see at the top right, that's downloaded the data, it's exported the data to a CSV file, and when we click this, it loads the CSV data for each of the order models. It's a very simple model, so we don't have a lot of data here, but we have an ID for each order, we have a user that's associated by a foreign key, and we have a status for each order, as well as created and updated dates. Now what I'm going to do is change the numbers of the IDs, and I'm going to show how we can then import this data. But in order to import, we can't have a duplicate primary key in the table. So I'm going to change these, for example, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we've already seen the export. Let's now take the same CSV file after changing these IDs, and we're going to go back to the Django admin. And now I'm going to click the import button, and I'm going to select that same file to import. And the format of that is CSV. When we click the submit button, I'm getting the message here that some rows have failed to validate. So what I'm going to do is open the CSV file again, and I'm going to remove the 2 columns related to the date. And that's because the created date is set automatically, as well as the updated date, when the items are loaded into the database. So we don't actually need those in the uploaded CSV file. So I'm going to remove those 2 columns. Let's try this again. I'm going to choose the file here, and when we click submit, you can see this time we have a preview of the data to be imported, and if we want to import this data, we can then click the confirm import button, and that's going to add 5 new orders into the database based on that import. So by using Django-unfold and integration with the import-export module, we can then add functionality to the Django admin classes that we want to provide import and export functionality for, and that's going to add these nice looking widgets to the page that allow us to import data from files and also to export data to files. And this can be extremely useful if you're bulk loading data into your database, or if you need to provide an export of database data, for example, to provide to a data analysis team or a marketing team or something like that. You can do these very easily by using the import-export package, and Django-unfold provides nice forms and widgets that integrate well with that package. Now I want to finish the video by looking at filters in the Django-unfold package. So let's go back to the normal Django admin page for the order model. And let's say we wanted to add a custom filter to this page. So we're listing out all of the orders at the moment, but we might want to filter by status. You can see the orders have different statuses, for example, delivered, shipped, and there's also a pending status, I think. We're going to add a filter on that column. So let's go back to the admin.py file, and in the order admin class, we can add another attribute here, and this is built into Django. It's called list filter. That's set to a list of different fields we want to provide filters for, and we're going to do that for the status field of the order class. If we save that and go back to the page and we refresh this page, you should see here that the filters button has appeared, and if we click that, we now have this very nice looking status filter. All of the available status choices are here for pending, shipped and delivered. And for example, if we click one of them, delivered here, it's going to filter down all of the orders and return only the ones that have that status of delivered. So there's some nice built-in integration in Django-unfold to some of these basic filter widgets, but we can also add custom filters from Unfold. I'm going to go to the GitHub page on filters here, and some of the filters provided are things like text filters, and if we scroll down here, we have drop-down filters, and also, let's say, numeric filters, and finally, date and time filters. So what I want to do is add date and time filters to this order admin page. So we have orders here, and we have a created at field in the database that tells you when the order was created. What I want to do is I want to add this range filter that's available from the unfold.contrib.filters.admin module. So I'm going to copy this import here, and let's go back to admin.py and go to the top of this file. And you can see we have a lot of different imports here. I'm going to paste this one, and that's going to be for the range date filter. We can remove the other one, What I'm going to do just to clean this up a bit, just as a side note in the video, I'm going to stop the server and we're going to install the 𝗖sort module in Python. And this package 𝗖sort allows you to sort the imports in the most Pythonic manner, essentially. So what we're going to do is clear the terminal and I'm going to run the 𝗖sort command and we're going to clean up this admin.py file, so core admin.py. Before we run this, let's have a look at these imports. After we run this, it's going to clean these up. So at the top, we have imports from third-party Python packages, Django, import, export, and unfold. So these are not built into the standard library itself. And then below that, we have an import from our own application, and that's the core application. Now, alternatively, you could also use a tool like 𝗏𝗡𝗏 to detect these unused imports. We're going to remove some of these now just to get rid of them and clean things up a bit more. And if you're interested in a video on using the 𝗖sort package and other ones that are similar, such as Black and 𝗏𝗏𝗏, let me know in the comments. We can maybe add one of those very soon. What I'm going to do now is scroll down back to the order admin class. Now, in order to use this range date filter here, we actually need to add the filters package from Unfold into the installed apps. So I'm going to go back up to the installed apps section of this documentation. And we're going to copy this import here of unfold.contrib.filters. And we're going to go back to installed apps in settings.py. And I'm going to paste that in here as well. And again, let's fix the quotations. Once we've added that, we can go back to admin.py. And I think a minute ago when I removed the unused imports, I actually removed this range date filter that I want to use now. So let's bring that back in from the filters module of Django-unfold. And we can go back to the GitHub page for the date time filters and we're going to see how this works now. So if we go down to the class here, what we're doing is we define two attributes here. So we have the normal list filter, but instead of just referencing a field on the model, we have this syntax here. We have a tuple where the first element is the name of the field and the second element specifies the widget to use or the filter to use for that field. And in this case, it's the range date filter. So let's go back to the page here and go back to our order admin class. We're going to look at the list filter property on that. So we already have a status, but we now want to add another filter here. So let's go back to the admin page. We want to filter by the created at field on the model. So what we're going to do here is break this into one line for each particular field. So as well as status, we want to add a tuple for the created at field. And the second element of that tuple is going to tell Django-unfold to use the range date filter for this particular filter. So we've added that. Let's go back to the Django admin now, and we're going to look at the filters at the top right here. I'm going to click this and you can see now that we have not only the status filter, but we also have this range date filter here. And we can use this widget from Django-unfold to select a date. So for example, if I want to filter from the 10th of the month, I can select that, and we can also select a date to filter to. I'm going to select the current date just by clicking that button here. Now we don't have any way to submit this at the moment, and that's because there's a second field here that we need to use, and that's list filter submit. We can set that to true if we want to add a submit button at the bottom of the filter. So what I'm going to do is copy this, and again let's go back to the order admin class, and just underneath the list filter I'm going to paste that in. And this time if we go back to the Django admin and refresh the page, when we click the filters you can see the button at the bottom. So we can select a range of different filters here. What I'm going to do is select the same dates for the range filter that I had before. And once we've selected these, we can apply the filters and it's going to filter down the orders. So for example, here we had orders that were on the 9th of July before, but because we selected the start date of the 10th of July, those have been filtered out, they've been removed from the list page, and we now have only the orders from the 10th of July to the current date. And again, we can go back to the filters page, and at the top, we can click this clear all filters button, and that's going to remove those filters, and now we get back the original list set that contains all of the orders. So that's how we can add custom filters using Django-unfold, and that's going to be all for this video. In this video we've shown the Django-unfold package. This is a very nice responsive package for the Django admin that gives it a very modern look and feel based on TailwindCSS classes that are added by default. All you need to do is subclass the Django-unfold model admin class, and that basically gives you it right out of the box, this very modern UI, and you can further customize that if you're using packages like Django-import-export, or if you need to provide custom filters for the data that you have on your admin pages. And the theme uses very popular packages in the Django community like HTMX and Alpine.js, as well as TailwindCSS, to give it this nice responsive look and feel. And like I said earlier, if you're building an admin for a client, just by adding this package, it's very easy to get this very nice looking page out of the box that can then impress the clients and hopefully get you more work if you're looking for that. So thank you for watching. If you want any more content on this package or on the Django admin, let me know in the comments. And if you want to support the channel, we have a link to our Ko-fi page in the description. That would be amazing if you want to contribute. And finally, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you in the next video.